Hi, this is Lonya with another StarCraft 2 commentary, and this is a game between a red Terran, who is in the bottom right, and a yellow Protoss LenaPark in the top left, on this map Jungle Basin, which is pretty reasonable for Terran against Protoss. Not quite so good if you've got a Zerg playing, because they've got a bit of a problem in terms of taking any bases above 2, but for Terran against Protoss it can be pretty decent, especially if both players decide to go for some 2-base play and start off with a fairly macro oriented game at the start, which is fairly easy with the easy to take expansion. Although for both players it can be abused in various ways. For Protoss you can use some blink stalkers, blink across the gap, or possibly get a Colossus around there. As a Terran you can use siege tanks, both players can use drops, so there's all sorts of little tricks you can do, or you can just go for kind of the sledgehammer route and break down the rocks and just go in from behind. So it'll be interesting to see if they do decide to focus on those 2 bases and try and put on some pressure that way. Assuming that they do decide to take him and go for the more macro game. Just got 1 barracks coming up at the moment and gateway coming up, so fairly standard openings, not going for any kind of expansion before structure, and it looks like the Protoss is checking for any kind of proxy cheesy thing in that back expansion, and then possibly he might decide to go for... No, he's not going to go for an Nexus, and the Terran interestingly cancelling his gas. Maybe he is going to go for a command center. And it looks like that's not quite sure what that's for, but neither player going for a super fast expansion at the moment, it seems. Especially with the Protoss getting his gas, going to get his zealot out and try and block that ramp, stop any scout coming in. Both players just scouting pretty much at the same time. And a Marine probably going to be able to stop the Prod fairly quickly. And it looks like the Terran is going to expand because he's getting that orbital command up. He doesn't have any gas out and he's not putting down barracks. And that Probe's probably going to go down. He's not going to be able to check out the back, but he's going to know from the fact that there's no gas and not much else out at the moment that he's going to be getting an expansion fairly soon. He probably sees that SCV going on. And it looks like Protoss not going to go quite so fast, getting the cybernetics core out and not going for the expansion quite yet. And the SCV is kind of wandering around the base. He's got 2 gas up, so really not going to go for that expansion. And he's probably going to get out maybe some sentries and put on some pressure, which is kind of nice to see. If both players go macro, it can be a bit boring at the start of the game, but if one player decides to go for the macro game and the other player decides to try and put on some early pressure, which he's really going to need to do since Terran's going to get that advantage up at the start of the game, then it gives you a bit more action at the start. And the Terran just possibly supply bot for a second there, possibly not. Not getting any gas up still, getting 2 barracks down, so he's going to go for quite heavy Marines at this point in the game. 3 barracks down. So he's got the 2 command centers going to be up, he's going to have 3 barracks, and now the Protoss does decide to get his expansion up. And got quite a few observers here in fact watching this game, so obviously it's an organised game, not quite sure what it's from exactly. I just got this replay from kind of a random website, but obviously a lot of people interested in this game. And now 2 gas going up for the Terran, so he's presumably going to get some tech labs up and possibly some medevacs and go for not a fast but kind of mid-game sort of push with a bioforce. Assuming he gets a factory down fairly soon, but at the moment no gas mined yet, and he's just transferring across some SCVs, and the Protoss getting a robotics facility with 1 gateway, which is kind of interesting. So presumably that's going to be for an observer, and he's not going to expect too much early pressure. Now getting 2nd gateway down, so it's going to be 2 gate robo, and that 2nd Nexus almost complete. And an orbital command, I think, was just possibly, yep, just finished for the Terran, so he's got 2 mules, oh sorry, 2 orbital commands producing mules, and the 2 gas, and getting those tech labs up. No factory going down just yet, just going to pump some more Marines still from that barracks, and an observer coming out, so the Protoss is going to be able to know exactly what's going on once he gets that over to the base. And really not too unexpected that both players are just going for this macro game, but only 2 gas still from the Protoss, and we'll have to see if he produces a Colossus or any model, and the Immortal, especially with those 2 tech labs, will be pretty useful, but he might possibly wait for that really slow observer to get all the way across since he hasn't seen exactly what's in the base at the moment, and the Terran has seen the fact that there's a robo up, but he's only seen one gateway so far, and some sentries going up, so the Protoss is going to be able to hold off any early pressure just by force fielding that gateway, and he's got a robo bay coming up, so he's going to go for Colossus. And probably get the thermal lance fairly soon, and just a nice supply depot at the back, and pylon at the back, just so that they can check their own rocks without having to do too much. And still I don't see a factory down, so kind of interesting that he's not getting a factory, not going to get any medevacs, just going to go for pure bioforce now. And yep, there's a factory, so it does go down in the end. And the Terran's slightly behind in terms of harvesters. It's not too bad since he's got the mules, but really should be producing a few more 4 gas up now for the Protosses. Obviously, as a Protoss you want quite a bit more gas than the Terran does. Not getting the thermal lance upgrade yet because he doesn't quite have the resources, and now he does, and yep, he stops it, and the Colossus coming out. So he's just going to force field around. Any units that do come and decide to attack might get taken out by that Colossus, although it looks like he's going to go around, take down the back rocks and try and attack from the back, which you can force field, but I think a couple of force fields is enough for that. But with the sentries completely out of position over here, they're not going to be able to do anything about it at the moment. And that Colossus is nearly out. What he could possibly do is position the Colossus over here if he walks it down the front door, instead of walking it right the way around, although I think it's probably about a similar distance. And it looks like that Bioforce is going to walk forward and come and attack, and the Starport going down, so he is going to get a Starport. He's got a reactor coming out, so he's going to Starport reactor, possibly for Vikings or Medivacs or both, assuming that he sees the Colossus, but he should be able to see if he's got his eyes open. Yeah, he's moving his forces around, so he sees that those rocks are going down, he's got his forces coming around, he's walking into some zealots, and he isn't going to be able to force field quickly enough because those sentries weren't close enough, and another couple of force fields really wants to move that Colossus away because he's taking a lot of damage already, and he just managed to save Colossus. I mean, zealots coming in, doing a bit of damage, force fielding some more units, nicely done, and they can't get in range of the Colossus, so that's going to be able to take him down even without extended range. I don't think it's pretty extended range yet. No, not quite finished, so those force fields nicely allowed to take down most of that force. Army of the Protoss is way far ahead at the moment of the Terran because they're pretty much failed attack, and Terran harvester count still quite far behind. He's going to have to macro up, and it looks like the Protoss isn't going to put on any pressure, just going to get some more forces down. Wait for that thermal lance, and 2 Stargates coming up, so presumably that's going to be for Void Rays, which can be pretty effective. And a 3rd command center coming up for the Terran, so he's going to probably take down his back rocks and take this 3rd base up here based on the positioning of it. Although he might go for the 3rd up here, which can be pretty effective, especially if you get some turrets to make it a planetary fortress. You can kind of defend quite easily there. But I would assume from the position where it's being built, he might be going for this 3rd up here, which can be slightly more risky because it's quite close to the Protoss base, and with these 2 Stargates coming up, if he gets some Void Rays, he might be able to do quite a bit of damage. Just kind of come in, attack, and then run away a bit, keep some troops maybe behind this, maybe a Colossus or 2, just to do a bit of damage if he does decide to move out. And it's slightly slow body at the moment, getting some more pylons down, getting a forge down, so he's going to go for the upgrades now finally. And no, he's getting some Phoenixes out. That's quite surprising. I would have expected Void Rays and not Phoenixes, but no, I really don't see that. Kind of slightly odd. I mean, he's going to be able to do a bit of harass, maybe force some turrets, but the amount that he's going to invest in the Phoenixes is going to be way more than the Terran's going to have to invest in turrets. And quite a few Vikings coming out as well, so those Vikings are going to be able to shut down the Phoenixes anyway. The Phoenixes are going to be basically useless, even more than Void Rays would be against the Vikings, since there's just going to be so many Vikings. And he should really think, I've got Colossus out, Terran knows that, he's seen a Colossi, I really shouldn't be getting air because he's going to get air, he's going to get Vikings to take down my Colossi, and unless he produces a monster amount of Phoenixes, I don't think there's any point in producing any Phoenixes really. And it looks like the Terran is in fact going to take this base and presumably get a planetary fortress, assuming that he's got an engineering bay. Yep, he does have the E-bay, and he hasn't got any upgrades at the moment. So the Protoss is going to be ahead in terms of the weapons upgrades because he's got that forge down and he's starting to upgrade weapons 1. And no upgrades, I don't think. No armory down. Oh, he's got a Ghost Academy. Okay. Oh, I missed that one going up. And it looks like a Twilight Council as well for the Protoss, and a Nexus going down at that 3rd. And those Phoenixes kind of running around, but now you see all these Vikings just kind of running around, take out 1 Phoenix already. Not sure he managed to kill more than maybe 1 SUV there, but it looks like, and he's got some turrets going up as well, so 3 bases each, a lot of cannons going down. They're not even that effective if he just moves in with this mass fire force, but he's still producing the Phoenixes. So if he gets enough Phoenixes out, they might be able to do quite a lot of damage to those Vikings eventually. Although the Terran's still producing Vikings, and Ghost is coming out now finally. And will he be getting... I'm trying to find out, because I haven't seen the Twilight Council being built. I mean, sorry, Templar Archives. So he doesn't look like he's going to get High Templar, but he is just going to have the Templar Archives for the upgrades for the Zealots. And just the Zealots for now, since he doesn't have too many stocks, he's got 17 Zealots, so they're going to be able to get in closing quite quickly with the charge, and presumably he's going to start getting more upgrades once Weapons 1 is done. But really that Planetary Fortress is going to